Hello and welcome. In this explainer, we're breaking down some of the big ideas from a really interesting source.
So let's kick things off with a classic question. Is there really such a thing as honor among thieves? Today, we're going to explore that very paradox through Victor Canning's clever short story, A Question of Trust.
First things first, let's meet our protagonist. He's a man who is living a pretty fascinating and, let's say, contradictory double life. On the surface, you've got Horace Danby, a picture-perfect model citizen. He's about 50, he runs a successful lock-making business, you get the idea. But under all that respectability, there's a secret. Horace is also a very, very good burglar. But here's the thing, he's not your typical criminal. He's incredibly meticulous. He only commits one single super carefully planned robbery each year. Just one. And see, this one crime a year isn't even about the money itself. It's just enough to fund his one true passion, collecting rare and expensive books without, drawing any unwanted attention. In his mind, it's a totally justifiable means to a very noble end.
All right, so this brings us to this year's job. The target is a house called Shotover Grange, and true to form, Horace has done his homework.
I mean, he has really thought of everything. He's watched the house for 2 solid weeks. He knows for a fact the family is out of town. He even knows the dog's name so he can keep it quiet. He gets inside, gloves on, no fingerprints. He's got it all figured out. Or so he thinks. He missed one tiny detail. Just as he's getting down to business, about to crack the safe he knows is tucked away behind a painting, he realizes he's not alone. And what's so wild is her reaction. She doesn't scream, she doesn't panic. Nope. Instead, she just completely takes control of the situation. Her calm, authoritative vibe just throws Horace completely off his game. This moment, right here, this confrontation is the turning point of the entire story. It leads Horace to make one decision that's going to seal his fate for good. She weaves this brilliant little story. She says she needs her jewels for a party tonight, but oh darn it, she's forgotten the combination to the safe. And then she looks at him, the burglar, and asks if he could possibly open it for her. Now Horace, he's totally charmed by her confidence, and honestly, he's just desperate to get out of there without getting arrested. So he sees what looks like an easy way out. He decides to trust her. He'll just help her out, and then he can walk away. No harm, no foul. And in his rush to be the helpful gentleman, to get this over with, he makes the one mistake that will end his career. He takes off his gloves to open the safe. And that one simple act, that single moment of trust, is what brings his entire, carefully constructed life crashing down around him. He leaves that night actually feeling like he got away with it. But just 2 days later, there's a knock on the door. It's the police. His fingerprints, now all over that safe and the room, gave them everything they needed. And here is the twist. The real lady of the house was actually an elderly woman who had no idea what was going on. That confident young woman in red, well, she was another, more cunning thief who played him perfectly, vanished with the jewels, and left Horace to take the fall. And this is just a perfect example of what's called situational irony. The outcome is the exact opposite of what you'd expect. Horace, the meticulous planner who prided himself on his skills, was himself robbed and completely outsmarted by someone who simply played the game better. Okay, so let's tie all of this together and get back to that big question we started with at the beginning. So now Horace is in prison, where he becomes, of all things, an assistant librarian. How's that for irony? He's surrounded by the very books he loved to steal for, and now he just gets angry anytime someone even mentions the idea of honor among thieves. He bought into that unwritten code, and his trust was just completely betrayed. The story really digs into some powerful themes. The biggest one is just how easily we can be fooled by appearances. That woman's confident, upper-class act, it was all a performance. And it worked because it preyed on Horace's own overconfidence, which totally blinded him. And in the end, it was that misplaced trust in someone he saw as a fellow professional that led straight to his downfall. Which really leaves us with one final fascinating thought. Horace was a master of locks, of plans, of logistics. But the woman, she was a master of psychology, of manipulation. So it makes you wonder, who was actually the better criminal? And what does skill even mean in a world built on deception?